Syria's President Assad has issued an amnesty for people who escaped mandatory military service. It comes into effect on December 21st. Aid agencies say that a fear of conscription into the Syrian army is a major reason for many refugees not wanting to return home. Well, to talk more about that, we're joined by Syrian journalist and filmmaker Omar Al-Muqdad. Thank you very much for joining us, Omar. Great to see you again. And first of all, could you tell us a bit about the conscription law in Syria and about the penalty for avoiding military service before this new decree comes into force?
Well, thanks for having me back on. In fact, this the first time you desert from the Syrian regime army, you have to go and serve 9 months in a military prison, specifically in Palmyra military prison or Sednaya military prison. Second time, you go for 2 years. And then and if you fled the country or outside the country, it's considered a heinous crime that you could serve 5 years in a military prison. But let's remember, these measures the Syrian regime usually do. His father also used to issue several general amnesties targeting specifically the deserters and those who reject military service or leave the army. It's to relieve pressure on the Syrian regime jails and the prisons. As you know, Syria now is amid of economic crisis, and such a move will relieve a lot of stress on the Syrian regime. And because his jails and the prisons right now is backed of those who rejected military service to begin with. And this kind of steps that the Syrian regime usually adopt is, again, to also shift everybody's attention inside Syria into some into different direction. Look, I just released prisoners from jails to calm everything down. We're talking about thousands of people right now sitting in his jails in violation of international law, not just those who rejected military service for this. So to trying to play this game in Syria is not going to work for a lot of refugees who are living outside Syria and they refused military service or deserted, simply because these guys are considered enemy of the state or enemy of the Syrian regime. So that's won't cover them. They are not covered in this general amnesty. They would be arrested once they set foot inside Syria, because simply they are considered a Syrian opposition, not just regular soldiers who just left the army, and the Syrian regime is being kind right now by forgiving them.
Right, because millions of Syrians have of course fled the country because of the war that's been raging there for over a decade. Is this new decree likely to entice many refugees to come back to the country? Of course, mandatory military service is just one of many problems in Syria right now.
Right. So for many Syrians, they actually don't buy the Syrian regime measures and amnesties, because they know it's not about just like regular crimes. They've been considered, as I said before, as the enemy of the Syrian regime. So that's not tolerated in the Syrian regime book. So for many Syrians outside the country, they will not return. He has done this many times before, and none of them has actually returned and buy these measures that the Syrian regime taken to relieve some of the pressure that he's been receiving from the Syrian opposition and from the outside world and the human rights organization to release the prisoners. In fact, the prisoners that we want the Syrian regime to release, they're still sitting there. They're not included by this decision. They're still in jail. There are hundreds of thousands of people, missing people. We don't know if they're still alive or what happened to them, but they're still there. So they are not included. So that's basically is just a move that the Syrian regime taken to cover what he's been doing for Syrians in his jails for decades.